everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Barely Filtered. Man, oh man, I'm feeling conflicted because I got a whole lot of people telling me, stop dating. You need to take a breath. And I think that I'm so tough. And I think that I am impervious to, relationships ending because I'm like, oh, it was just a short little stint. Like all the relationships that I've been in since I got divorced have been like, 6-week like flings. But I think they do leave an emotional imprint because after everything went down with the last guy, I was like, that was unusually chaotic, but I kind of had to sit with like, am I the common denominator? The whole episode was all about like taking radical responsibility. And I do have to take a look in the mirror and be like, okay, I almost like don't look at like now of like, do I like you now? Do we get along now? Is our chemistry good now? I think I'm like projecting into the future of, is this like a person that like I could have a solid life with? So it's usually people that I'm picking that like have kids, almost like character setting, like the setting and everything is there, but like the main character, I'm not like looking at that as much. Like in a way, I'm always like, I don't care about looks. Like I really don't. I rarely pick like the most attractive looking guy. No offense to any of the people I've dated. You were cute. But like, I always just go for if I think it makes sense, like logistically, even though the last guy lived in Boston, but we were going to figure that out. Like we were going to move the pieces. So I have this guy, Danny Morel, coming on later, and I usually prepare for other podcasters by listening to their podcasts. And he does a lot more than just host a podcast. He actually hosts 2 podcasts, one of them with his wife. Actually, I don't think they're married yet, but maybe. So I started listening to kind of do some research and I was like, uh-oh. This is for me. He's talking to me right now. His podcast is all about, if you haven't found like all the love and home and security and warmth in yourself, you are not going to find it in another person. Stop looking right now. And then I felt like he was looking directly at me. I was like, okay, well, this feels personal. But I listened to like all of his episodes. Well, I listened to a lot of them. There's like 200, so not all of them. And it just makes so much sense that I'm attracting these guys who are mirroring the confusion that I'm feeling, I think, about, do I want to be in a relationship? I'm actually such an independent person. And I think for some reason, I've had a hard time being like, maybe your life is better without a partner. Like, do you need a partner? I don't want to be lonely. I don't know what I'm afraid of, but I'm not lonely. I think it's a little weird when you just start co-parenting and the kids are with you, 100% of the time around the clock for like a few days, and then they go with their dad and you're like, oh my God, I think just that juxtaposition, that like dichotomy of life, like really mirrors like okay, now I'm alone. Before I didn't have like 1 second alone, and now I'm like alone. And I think just like getting used to that and not squirming and being uncomfortable in those moments where it's like the house was just so loud and now it's so quiet. And what do I do? What do I do with my hands? Like I do not even know. And I've talked to you guys a lot about my experience with how I use alcohol and how, during those times when it's like a little too quiet, I'm like, okay, well, I'll have a glass of wine. And so after this last breakup, I had to take a good look at that and be like, how are you responding when you feel uncomfortable, when you feel like you're getting back on the horse, like when you're in that recovery mode, the mode of like something ended and now you got to pick up the pieces and you got to do it in a way where the puzzle is going to be better than it was before. And I know that I need to take full responsibility for how I rebuild myself after a breakup, after I, haven't been treating my body well. And for me, it's like when it rains, it pours. Like if I'm in a bad relationship, I'm also not eating well. I don't know that I've ever been in a really good relationship, to be quite honest with you, but when I'm doing well in the other parts of my life and I'm single, like I think I'm my healthiest when I'm single. And I think I just like realized that right now, that maybe that's what I need to be. Maybe I need to be single. Because ever since I got dumped, which is like the best thing that happened to me, it's like I started working out every day again. I limited the alcohol at first. Like I would only have like a glass of wine on the weekends. But now I'm like, even that, I don't want to use it to numb. I don't think I'm a person who can't drink, but I think I'm a person who, when I'm in this recovery phase, can't drink. Because if I'm already feeling like I need to rebuild myself, hanging on to a crutch like alcohol, which it can be for me, hinders my progress, and it like blurs my vision of seeing what it is that I need to do. What do I need to look at? How can I be better? So I've been working out like every day. Oh, I think I told you guys before that I like, gained a bunch of weight, which is fine. I think I look better in a lot of ways, but it's just when your clothes don't fit, it's just, I know that I gained weight because I was having a glass of wine like way too often and just eating crappy food. So I'm getting back on the horse, and I feel like maybe what I need to do is not date. But do you ever do the thing where your fingers just like open an app and like your brain didn't even tell it to do that? I swear that's what's happening with me. I mean, I need to delete the app, but I have Raya on my phone, which is also another problem because Raya is like connected to my Instagram. And even though I don't want to admit it because I don't want Paul to be right, and Bethany, I don't even want to say their names, but like, I don't want them to be right. But like, maybe it is better to be private with your relationships, because what I'm realizing is the guys who see me on Raya, they see the pictures that I've selected of myself, obviously the ones that like I think I look hot in or whatever. And then they go to my Instagram and they see the clips that we've curated, and they see, my entire curated persona, which is, by the way, not really 100% me all the time. I try to be as authentic as possible. I think I'm kind of incapable of not being me. I say what's on my mind. However, do we pick clips because we think they're going to get a good amount of clicks? Do we say things sometimes in a way where we think it might provoke like a certain response in people? Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the business when you're trying to sell a show or you're trying to get people to listen to something or you want something to circulate. So my point is like my Raya, the fact that it's connected to my Instagram and this is what people learn of me first, maybe I'm not attracting the right kind of people because they're seeing my like internet personality and not just like getting to know me first. Because that's the other thing I realized. When you already have an idea of somebody in your mind, you can't ever undo that. There's a guy who I connected with on Raya, or like we both liked each other, whatever. And I didn't Google him, and I looked at his Instagram for a second, and then I realized, okay, I don't want to Google him because I don't want the internet to tell me who they are before I get a chance to know that. I'm actually going to go on a date with him after this. And I told him a little bit about my past experience and how talking anonymously about my ex-boyfriend caused a lot of issues. And he's like, yeah, actually, I had a problem with that once with somebody as well. Why don't we just like not talk about us anonymously or not? So I'm not gonna, this is the last time I'm gonna talk about this because I'm already breaching our imaginary NDA, but I'm gonna go on a date with him after this, even though I just told you I probably shouldn't be dating. We're just gonna get coffee, but I think, I don't know if I can't go on dates at all or if I just shouldn't like, I'm just going to slow it way down. I'm going to slow it way down. I don't think that I need to like not meet people because I like meeting people, but I'm not going to be calling anybody my boyfriend anytime soon. I need to talk to people like Danny, who I'm so excited to, but I'm a little scared because I have a feeling this is going to be like a deep one. When you just feel like you're raw. I think I'm in my luteal phase. I don't know. I might cry today, guys, because like the things that he says are the things that I know I need to hear. He's got a way of putting things, and I'm just excited for you guys to hear him and maybe learn some of what I have been learning by listening to his podcast. Anyway, so yeah, I'm going on my date later. I'm not allowed to talk about it. I can't tell you. But I will be single for a while, and I'm going to be getting some life advice from a very wise, successful guy named Danny Morell. And I guess I will introduce him now for you guys since he's about to come in. He's a successful real estate entrepreneur, motivational speaker, and life coach known for his transformative work in personal development and business growth. He has built a reputation for helping individuals and businesses achieve their full potential through his dynamic coaching. He does these retreats, and he's really into plant medicine, which I think is interesting because ayahuasca scares the shit out of me, and he's done it a million times and he attributes his like healing to that. So I'm like, of course, I'm like, well, I need to try it then. But I feel like I know people who have done that and like they've never been the same. Or maybe I don't, but maybe I've heard stories about that and that scares me. Anyway, let's welcome him. Well, I already introed you when you weren't here, but we have him now in studio, Danny Morell. And I was telling the listeners that last night I was listening to a bunch of your episodes on your podcast, and you have one with your wife too as well,
Sure,
right?
yeah.
And I'm like, uh-oh. This guy's talking to me. I was like, it feels personal because like, okay, this is an interview about you, but of course I'm going to talk about me for a second here. I'm divorced with 2 little kids. I just got divorced like in November, and I've been like dating. But like, you kind of made me rethink maybe I shouldn't be dating, because talk about what your advice is when somebody keeps attracting the same type of like chaos in their relationships.
Yeah. So life on the outside is just a reflection of life on the inside. And in the case of relationships, when you see yourself continuously attracting the same kind of person, it's because without you being aware of it, there is an energy and a frequency within you that is drawing in that type of person. I'll give you a case in point. I was, talking with someone and she pulled me aside. She goes, Danny, she says, I always attract emotionally unavailable men. And I go, okay. She goes, and I hear you talking about this. Like, why? What's up with that? And I said, well, let's dig a little deeper. I said, tell me about life when you were a little girl. And she says, oh, my mom and dad, and, we had a great relationship and, so forth and so on. And I go, great. Do you have any siblings? She goes, yeah, I did actually. And I says, tell me about their relationship with your siblings. And she says, you know what? It's funny you mention it, but my sister, when she was born, she was sick. And when my sister got sick, all of my mom and dad's love and energy and attention went to them. And I said, and how do you remember feeling about that as a little girl? And she was like, I got over it, but which that's the mask. That's the mask. That's the protection, right? To protect the heart really is what's happening. And then I said, but if you really are honest with me, how did that feel as a little girl? She said, I remember feeling so alone. I remember feeling like I was second best. And I said, because love was no longer available to you. She said, oh my God, yes. And she starts crying, and I go, and that's why you attract men who are not available to give you the love that it is that your heart deserves.
Right.
And I kid you not, we worked on a couple of things, and 3 months later, oh my God, you're never going to believe what happened. I attracted this guy. It worked. Because what we don't realize is that truly, like, the frequency that we live in, the thoughts, the feelings, the emotions that we have as human beings, they're constantly drawing in opportunities or the lack thereof in every area of life, in your finances, in your health, in your relationship. And it's things that us as human beings have just been unaware of for so long.
Yeah. I mean, I totally feel that, but it's such a, like, the way you explain things with such conviction, it feels like it's easy for you to do that work. Where with somebody like me, I'm like, I feel like it's one of my superpowers, but also one of my problems of like, I'm so flexible, where I don't have that like unwavering single-mindedness where like if I make a decision, that's it. Or like somebody tells me, like Jesus Christ is your personal savior, or like I've been all over the place with religion. I grew up Catholic, but then I liked Buddhism, and I've done so much work, like gone to Hoffman, like the amount of money I've spent on figuring out what my traumas are. But then how do you stop acting through that wounded child?
Yeah, I think the first thing is this word believing. Yeah. I think that we as human beings, believing is in the mind. Yeah. And so if you think about it, when we are born as, little boys and little girls, we are completely defenseless and we are completely vulnerable. And so I picture a little baby, like my daughter, like she's like on her back looking up. And the one thing that you have got to understand is that when a child looks up, they are looking up at the masculine representation of God, which is the father, and the feminine representation of God, which is the mother, right? So sit with that and sit with the fact that it's your mother and your father. And then behind them energetically, it's their mother and their father and their mother and their father and their mother and their father, right? So what happens is that there is a line of energy. There's a line of beliefs. There's a line of frequency that is now in your parents. And then guess who becomes the receiver of that? You do.
Yeah.
Right? So let me give you an example. What if your mom is a workaholic? What if your mom is a workaholic and she's never around because somewhere along the line, one of your grandmothers was hurt and she was told, don't ever let a man let you down, right? And then she taught the great-grandmother, and the great-grandmother taught the great-grandmother, the grandmother, and the grandmother taught the mother. And what does the mother teach don't ever let a man let you down, right? Well, a woman like that will naturally attract a guy who will never let her down. He's meek, he's quiet, he's whatever the case may be. So there's already an imbalance in the energy, but to you, that's just normal. Right. Mom wears the pants, right? And so when we have these imbalances inside of ourselves, like that's how deep this is. So how do you stop believing is by first knowing that energy is a very real thing. And then secondly, you have to go on the journey, and this is where I saw you mention something on Instagram, but this is where
I was like, that's one thing I haven't tried.
Yeah, this is where my life changed forever is when I finally decided to sit with ayahuasca. It absolutely changed my life.
I'm interested in that because I do know that there's a very physical element to these wounds to the point where like, I think it's in our DNA. I
100%.
think it's in our cells.
100%.
And I've found healing in things like yoga, where if I sit in a pose and I can feel like physical release of the energy, I almost feel like I get deeper healing that way than any of these like courses I've taken or retreats.
So and this is the issue. This is why I created my event Awaken, and I'm going to explain is that. First things first, you have to understand that a lot of, the courses and retreats that are out there, you have to understand that human beings will do anything for attention, for admiration, for respect, for money, for followers, right? Until they have healed the parts of them that no longer need that. Right. If they did not receive love from their mother and father in some way, shape, or form, human beings will create ways to go out and find love, right? They want to be popular. They want to be powerful. They want to be beautiful. Because that leads them to get the attention that they never got from mom and dad, right? So step number one, when you go to some of these courses and things is that you got to really pay attention. You got to ask yourself, like, does this person need my energy? Does this person need me to look up to them, to admire them, to respect them, to whatever? Because I'll tell you right now, if that is there, they will never lead you to you.
Yeah.
A real healer, number one, would never label themselves as a healer because all a healer wants is to help you heal yourself.
Right.
It's a return of you to you, quite frankly. And the only way that I have found that you can do that is through, number one, let's call it, yoga is a great way.
Right.
It's a great way because it's your body, your mind, your breathing, all of that, right? But there's deeper layers. So then number two, it's meditation. Right. The problem is that when we are living life in our mind, it is very difficult for people to meditate.
Yeah.
It's really difficult, right? I used to sit there and I would either fall asleep or my mind would be chaos until I did number 3 and number 4, right? So number 3 is breath work.
Yeah.
And so breath work, if done the right way and in the right environment, it will take you straight and it will connect you. I mean, you'll get connected to ancestors. You'll get connected to the spiritual world in a way that you cannot possibly even imagine. And then number 4 is plant medicine. Okay. And when you go with plant medicine, like the starter, I would say, is mushrooms. But so many of us, when we were younger, maybe popped a mushroom to like get high at a party or whatever.
I've had some mushroom experiences.
Yeah, right. And so then what happens is, without knowing it. It's like we correlate mushrooms to like a negative experience or a bad trip or whatever.
Right.
I'm talking about doing this in a sacred ceremony.
Okay.
In a loving place with people that you trust, with a shaman, with facilitators that are there to hold space for you, right? And then the next level above that is ayahuasca. And the way I like to think of it is mushrooms is like for the mind, all of your limiting thoughts, your subconscious, all things masculine, I like to call it. And then ayahuasca is all things feminine for your heart. And for a woman, I've seen magical things happen in the womb. Yeah, I've seen.
Personally, I went through a few miscarriages, and because I am in this woo-woo world, I had a spiritual midwife, and she was this woman who lived in Canada. And when I kept having miscarriages, one of them was bad. She was like 13 weeks. We had already heard the heartbeat. And so losing that, I was like, I didn't realize that, like, how personal it would be. I was really struggling with it. And she had me kind of like meditate through my relationship with my own mother and kind of sit and visualize a white light and all this stuff that like I'm always like half believing, half not, but like I'll do it because if nothing's like. But
Aurora, let me what are you doing on Thursday?
What am I doing on Thursday?
Tell me. Listen to me. Yeah. Clear your calendar and come.
I'm
going to tell you why. What I'm talking about is there's no more believing. Your mind has to leave, which is the scariest thing for a human being to experience because we want to be in control. Yeah. Because we want to make sure we don't die.
Yeah.
Let's just be real, right? So we want to for you to really heal, it's no longer about a guru or a mentor or a practice or a course. It's about you getting to a space where Aurora leaves. And that's when your grandmother and your grandfather and the angels will come in and they'll start speaking to you. And they will literally tell you, look, this is the thing that you've been carrying and you can't control it. You can't control it. And that's the greatest fear. Everything you've ever wanted in life is on the other side of fear. That I can promise you.
Yeah, 100%. I think you said something about, you definitely talked a lot about control. And when I think about the things in my life, everything that I've ever tried to strong arm has always crashed and burned. And it's so funny because as you get older, it's not funny. It would be funnier if it wasn't like my life. But like as you get older, you kind of can catch yourself doing it. But you still don't quite trust. Right. Like if you let go, what could happen or what's going to happen. And it's just this balance. I think people think it gets easier as you get older. But with me, like as I've gotten older, I have more responsibilities. Like now it's not just me, I have 2 kids. So it's like I need to be even more in control. But like, is that actually helping? Maybe not.
Well, then let's talk about love.
Yeah.
Because what is love? Love is surrender.
Yeah.
Love is 100% trust. Love is letting go of control. Love is going into something, understanding that you might get hurt, right? But it's also you having not trust. And this is the biggest thing that I want to share, especially about relationships. We've got relationships all wrong. Yeah. We've got relationships. We have this idea that relationship is this wonderful fairy tale where you'll finally find like the love of your life. I'm going to tell you straight out. Relationships is the deepest mirror and the deepest reflection and the deepest work that you will ever go through. And most people are not ready for relationships. What most people want is to just not be alone.
Yeah.
There's a major difference. When I was ready to call in my wife, I did so much work. Number one, I did cord cutting ceremonies with anyone I had ever been with sexually. And it's important that your listeners understand this, that anytime you have sex with someone, that energy, that soul tie is still there.
Yeah.
So a lot of the negativity, the doubts, the worries, the fears, the things that we feel, a lot of it, that shit ain't even yours.
Right.
It's all the people you've been with.
How do you cut the cord?
It's a cord cutting meditation. Geez, I'm going to have to, you know what? I'll eventually just put it on YouTube so everybody has access to it.
Okay. Yeah. All right. We'll give more information.
So that you can do through a meditation, right? So that's number one. But number two, Source audibly told me it's time for you to be celibate. And I mean celibate from everything. Celibate from alcohol, celibate from sex, celibate from TV. I wanted to clear and cleanse my energy because we're constantly being bombarded with negativity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
And so once my energy was cleared, right? And it was like a 6-month process to a year. She just popped up.
Yeah.
She just popped up.
Yeah.
Just. Yeah.
I totally believe it. I mean, I think once you've experienced the magic of that, once you always know it's there. And I feel like I have, like, there have been times in my life where I'm really in the flow. I like practicing my TM, my transcendental meditation twice a day. And then things are happening and I'm like, I know why that's happening. But then I think you can lose it if you, like, for instance, I got into, you know, whatever, my marriage and then the divorce and the kid, and you get kind of lost. And I just know, like, right now I'm actually doing no alcohol. And last year I did 6 months no alcohol, and I try to talk about it to people, and everyone's like, well, are you an alcoholic or not? Like, you got to pick a lane. And I'm like, no, it's not that. It's that, like, when I know I need an answer that is not coming to me, like, I can't have alcohol in my life because I know that I lean on it as a way to kind of check out and numb. It's not like, can I never drink alcohol again, or is alcohol inherently bad? No, but, like, for me, if I'm struggling with something, struggling for an answer to, like, be at peace, there's no place for it.
So again, all things external are a sign of what's going on internal. So alcohol, right now we have a pandemic of vaping.
I was addicted to that. I finally quit.
Yeah, human beings literally cannot put that thing down.
It took me 10 times to quit that, and I finally did.
It's rough, but then let's take it deeper. Let's take it to, like, things like Adderall. Let's take it to like prescription medications.
Yeah.
Like, as a human being, you were born with everything you've ever needed to live a beautiful, loving, abundant life. But to society, that's not profitable.
Right.
So society has labeled us with all of these illnesses, with all of these issues that it tells us we need, and then it happily gives us the medication. The medication is alcohol. The medication is vaping. The medication is smoking. The medication is prescription medication. The medication is, like, go buy a new car. The medication is get famous. The medication is go get more followers. It is constantly trying to keep you in a state where you are away from you, from who you really are. And until we wake up to realize that, then guess what the partner is, by the way? It's just another medication.
Yeah, for sure.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When you are ready to call in the love of your life, right? You'll no longer need a partner.
Totally.
Because you would have found yourself.
Yeah.
You understand the energy of that?
It totally makes sense. It's like, I mean, I get it. It makes sense cognitively.
Sure.
But I think the instinct is still to, like, well, that doesn't mean I can't have coffee with this person, or maybe there is something a little off with my brain because of all, like, the microplastics that I'm eating. Maybe I do need to be on a little bit of this or a little bit of that. Like, how do we know if we need a medication?
Aurora, I want you to literally, like, one day when this is over, I want you to, like, go back, rewind.
Yeah.
I want you to notice the words that you use. How do you know, believe, right? It's all up here. What you and what I had to do is understand I've been living my whole life here because at some point in time when I was a little boy or a little girl, something made me afraid to return to here and to hear the body. The body, right? How do you know? You just know within you, especially as a woman.
Yeah.
As a woman, it's your superpower.
Totally.
That's your real superpower, is your intuition.
Yeah, I know that I'm extremely sensitive and my intuition is sharp, which makes it even more unbearable when I know I'm living out of my truth.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah. I wish sometimes I was a little more rough around the edges in that way. And I do want to talk to you about something that you said that I also really struck me.
Sure.
You said, if you're struggling financially or you know someone who's struggling financially, it's typically people who have trouble upholding boundaries in their personal life.
Sure.
And I was like, so, you know, my listeners, there's no secrets about anything, but, like, my finances have always been fine, but, like, I always feel like it's plateaued. And I also am somebody who, like, I have no boundaries with any of my friends, any of my relationships. And I'm like, I never considered these two things to be correlated.
Well, yeah.
So how is that a correlation?
All of it. So again, the partner you have or don't have, the money you have or don't have, all of it is 100% correlated to how connected you are to your source. So I'll give you an example. The place where most of the people that I work with have a difficult time with healthy boundaries is with family. Especially, are you Latina?
No, Italian. Same,
You're Italian.
Same
Okay.
traumas.
All right. So you know, to us, family is everything. Well, when we know that family is everything, then what ends up happening is that we allow family members to speak to us and to behave with us in certain ways that we are taught as little children. We just got to put up with it because they're family.
Right.
And it's the first place that we are shown that our boundaries are not safe to be upheld and our boundaries are not valid. It's through family, right? And so when you are coming up in life and you start to realize that, you know, you have zero boundaries with your family, you subconsciously and energetically transmute that energy into life, into your business, into your clients, right? It's crazy. The other day I was talking to this girl and she was saying to me, she was confused. She was saying, you know, how do I know if I'm in the right business or if I'm doing the right thing? And so the mind always asks a question, but there's always more underneath it. And I kept asking questions. And she tells me that she's going to school. And I say, I noticed her energy just change as soon as she started talking about it. And I go, why are you in school? She goes, well, because my mom and dad want me to be. And then I go, well, that's great. Do you want you to be? And she was afraid to answer, right? And I go, it's okay. Just share your truth. It's your truth. She says, no, I don't. And then I go, so why are you in school? And then the tears come. This is when the body starts to release the truth, right? Somatically. The tears come and she says, because I don't want to let them down. Because they came as immigrants and to them, their dream was for their children to go to school. I go, is that your dream? And she says no. And I go, and I call it, I said, this is your pastor moment. And I'll tell you what I mean by that in a second. I said, this is your moment to confront your greatest fear, which is letting your parents down. It's coming from love because they want the best for you. We have to understand that, right? But it's also coming from fear because in their mind, in this case as immigrants, they believe that the only way for their children to make it in life is if they go to school. Which means that you are stuck in their limiting belief, their limiting thoughts and feelings, and their limited frequency. And it's all fear-based. What does love do? Love doesn't control. Side note, in relationships, love doesn't control. There is no, can I go hang out with my friends? That's not love. Love allows. Sweetie, you do whatever you want. This is your life, right? And so that was her pastor moment. I say that because my pastor moment was when I was going through my divorce. And we sat in front of the preacher and the pastor starts telling me, you can't get divorced because of this, and he was throwing everything at me. Honest to God, Aurora, at that point in time in my life, I was so used to being like the good boy that I would do anything that anybody told me to do, especially someone in authority, like the pastor, right? And I was finally starting to listen to my heart. And I asked this question, I said, Pastor, but what about what my heart feels? Like, I know what you're telling me. I get it. Like, I know what I'm supposed to do, but my heart is telling me something different. And he looked at me, he looked me dead in the eyes. This moment changed my life forever. And he said, he says, listen, all I can tell you is if you make this decision, you'll lose all of God's blessings on your life. He said that.
See, this is why I don't trust authority.
Well, watch. Hang on a second. Watch. See, that's not love. That's guilt. That's manipulation, right? And in that moment, I thought to myself, that was my exit from here and my beginning of here. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Where I finally had to learn to start trusting myself, not what was on the outside. And it's the moment that changed my life forever.
Because when he said that to you, you were like, well, now I know I don't want to be on whatever you're doing?
Well, it was just like I finally saw the other side of the veil, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, look, I at this point in my life, I don't know what love is. I really don't. Honest to God, I'm a mess right now, right? I'm going through this divorce. Like, I don't know. But
Did you have kids with your first wife?
Yeah, three boys.
Okay.
Yeah, but I said, but I know that that's not love.
Yeah.
That's not. And if you are the leader of this thing, then I'm out of this thing. Because if you could tell me that, then there's something not right here.
Right.
And that honestly was the thing that drove me to ayahuasca, because I wanted to connect with God. I wanted to know the truth. So that first cup I took, I was like, please show me the truth of life, of God, of everything. And that's when the journey began.
See, I kind of have, I don't know, I have a conflict with that, because we were just talking about how, you know, you can't look for God in a cup of wine, or you can't look for God in you can't check out with a drug. And to me, like, ayahuasca is like, is this just another attempt for me to check out? If I have a glass of wine, it does help me feel more connected to like people sometimes, because it like squashes down the anxiety, but it's just a different.
Yeah, no, this is, what are you asking? And then I'll give you the answer.
Oh, like, I guess, like, why is ayahuasca different than any other drug?
I'll tell you why. Because it's not checking out, it's checking in.
Okay.
You're going to go deeper into you, and quite frankly, feel the greatest love you have ever felt in your life, even more than your physical mother could ever give you. It's that beautiful. And you're going to go into the parts of you, the wounded parts of you. And she brings it up and goes, remember when that happened when you were a little girl?
You remember things while you're
Oh
tripping?
my God. That's the whole thing. The whole experience is, remember, for me, it was, remember when you were a little boy and you had a crush on Mimi? Remember that moment? Yeah. And you remember how you felt when she broke your little heart?
Aww.
Yeah, that's why you are the way that you are. That's why no matter how much your wife tried to love you, your heart wasn't available, because you're afraid. And it's like everything that has happened in your life, and she just brings it to you so that you could start to purge it or release it or let it go. And like you said, so that energetically in your DNA, it's gone. It's literally gone, and you're a brand new person.
Man, so...
But the same thing will happen at Awaken without anything.
Oh, you don't do ayahuasca there?
No. But I will take you there. I promise you.
Can we do ayahuasca though?
We'll go there first, and then we'll talk after.
Because I'm a seeker. I'm an experimenter. It's gotten me into some sticky situations. I'll try almost anything.
Yeah.
But ayahuasca also scares me, because what would you say to somebody who's like, oh, you can slip into like schizophrenia or some kind of...
Yeah, that's a beautiful... So look, the mind will always find a way to try to keep you away from the thing that you are most afraid of. So it will come up with, but what about this? But what about that? But what about that? Here's what I can tell you. When you are ready, it will feel like, okay, I'm ready to do this. And if you're not, you're not. That's number one, right? Number two, if you are, then you go to a place. I send everybody to a place called Reunion. It's reunionexperience.com or .org. And you fill out a form and you talk to someone.
It is a place in Costa Rica.
Yes. And there's a counselor, and they talk to you, and you can tell them what you're afraid of, and they'll walk you through it. And then, when you feel again that you are ready, then you go. And if you don't, you don't. I'll tell you a quick story. I had an experience that was so profound. My heart chakra literally opened. You know how people talk about chakras?
Yeah.
Okay, I am telling you that I had a physical experience that started with a little dot in my heart, a little tingling sensation that grew and grew and grew and grew until it was a field of energy being released throughout my whole chest, my whole body. It was my heart chakra literally opening, right? And when I had that experience, I had another one where my root chakra opened, which is at the base of your spine, where it was like this gushing energy that was coming out. And when I asked the shaman, I said, what is happening right now? And he goes, don't worry about it. You're just being activated. And that happened at 42 years old, Aurora. And I'll tell you what came to me. Number one was, you mean to tell me I spent 42 years of my life not activated? And then number 2 was, oh my God, imagine how many people are out there not activated. And this is why I do the work that I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm interested. Reunion in Costa Rica.
Yeah.
We'll see. Oh man. So do you abstain from all like alcohol and I think you said TV, and are you still kind of celibate in those ways? I know you're not. I know you have a wife now, so
So not that.
We won't go there.
No, we won't go there. No. You know, I want to caution in what I'm saying because this was my journey.
Right.
For my journey and for as deep as I wanted to go in the journey, I decided to do some things that were pretty gnarly. Like there was physically no TVs in my house for like a year. And I had no alcohol. I went vegan for 4 years.
No, wow.
I just cleansed of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now I'm in a place in my life. I literally wouldn't wear watches before. Because I was that guy.
I love how you can stick to something though. Because I've done that I've had those. It never lasts that long. Like, you know, I don't know.
But look, it's because you haven't, may I just be?
No, please.
Because you haven't experienced the depth of what I'm offering you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I would
it's
be
not
sure.
up here.
It's not up there. Yeah.
It's not up here. I was addicted to pornography.
Okay.
Like,
one of the few addictions I don't think I've had.
Like, forgive me for telling you the truth,
Yeah.
but like 95% of all men walking planet Earth are.
Oh, for sure. But they don't call it addiction. They call it like being a normal guy.
No. Hang on a second. So like, this is so deep and so profound. No shame. I'm just, because I was there. I was always, okay, I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop. Right? That's what we do with everything, right?
Right.
Remember what I told you? It's not here. It's when you heal here, it's not a match. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When you live in the frequency of guilt and shame, you attract and do activities that cause you to feel guilty and shameful.
Right.
Because you are blocked.
Right.
Your root chakra, in this case mine, was blocked, which means your root chakra is the connection to Mother Earth, which is the connection to literally life itself.
Right.
So you are disconnected from life itself. That's why you're always up here, or I was always up here, right? And so when I finally realized it and I healed, like inward, no thinking, right? Release, surrender, a journey, right? It just, you don't decide to like not look at it. It's just, it's gone.
How was that time frame when you had no TVs and even just being vegan, was it lonely? I feel like people don't want to be around people that don't eat meat and don't watch TV and don't drink alcohol.
Yeah. So, so let's talk about like lonely.
Yeah.
Because like, if you really think about it, it's a fear, right? And it's a fear, I believe I mentioned this earlier, but it's a fear that drives people into relationship. Well, then you'll never find a soulmate that way.
Right.
You're finding a mind mate. Because the fear of your mind, I don't want to be lonely, causes you to go out and look for a partner, right? You're fulfilling a fear.
Yeah.
A soulmate happens when you heal your soul.
Yeah.
When you are connected to your soul. And when you are connected in that way spiritually to yourself, how could you ever be lonely if you were in love with you?
Yeah. It makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
So was I alone? Yeah, I was alone. Yeah. But was I lonely? No.
I guess you read books or something. Like
I read books. I did yoga. I sang Kumbaya. I worked out a lot. I got in the best shape of my life. Yeah. I've always been in business, so I focused on my business. I spent time with my children. I learned to play the guitar.
I have a guitar lesson on Friday.
Yeah.
My first guitar lesson. I just like randomly was like, I want to learn how to play the guitar because I like to sing, and like I feel like it's good for the mind.
Absolutely. Yeah. So now, if I want to have a glass of wine with my wife, I enjoy it.
Because it's a different, it's not, you're in a different headspace.
And if I want to wear a nice watch, I enjoy it because I no longer need you to like me because I have something.
Yes.
It's just, I like it for me.
That makes sense to me. And you know what? I've never felt like, I'm never going to get there. I always know that I'm going to get there. It's just like, I don't know when. I don't know. Like I'm on a winding road, but I do feel like just like connections with people like you and like those sorts of things that I am attracting the right way.
Absolutely.
And I know that people who are listening to my show love to watch my journey, and they know that I am far from perfect, but like that I will seek out people like you who are a little further along on the path, right?
That's all it is. And, Ram Dass said something. He said, like, we're all just walking each other home.
Yeah.
So
I love that. It's going to make me cry.
It's beautiful, and it's the truth. And, he also says something else that I feel like sharing. He said, because a lot of times when we have tough relationships with friends or family members or our partner, we want them to change, right?
Yes.
And he said something. He said, the greatest thing that you can do for someone else is to work on yourself.
Yeah.
And the greatest thing that they can do for you is to work on themselves.
Well, on that note, I was feeling guilty about not being with my kids this weekend if I come to Palm Springs, but I guess it's a gift to them if I go.
If you come here's my guaranteed and my word to you. If you come, it will be the 3 most powerful days of your entire life. It will be like 30 years of therapy in 3 days, and you will come back home a much more powerful and greater version of yourself than you can imagine. That's my guarantee.
All right.
You're my guest, by the way. You don't even have to pay.
Oh my God, I'm coming.
You're my guest.
A discount.
We'll take care of you. But that's because like I appreciate this, and I just from one human being to another, I could see you, and I could see you like your heart is ready for the answers.
Yeah.
But the answer comes from letting go of this and just and connecting. So,
okay. Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to wrap on that because I'm getting the wrap little signal over there, but also because what a good way to end. I mean, I think I'm going to go. I just told you guys my ex-husband is going away at the end of the month. He owes me. He can take the kid. I'm working out the logistics.
There you go.
I don't know.
Look at that.
We'll see. I'll let you guys know next time I film an episode. Anyway, over and out. Okay, if you want to find Danny Morell, you can find him on Instagram at Danny Morell. Also, he has a podcast that I am now the biggest fan of called The Higher Self, and also one that he does with his amazing, very smart and beautiful wife called Finding the One.
That's right. Yeah.
So definitely go check him out.